When it comes to purchasing a fairway wood, it's a little bit of a minefield because there's so many out there on the market, and then what fairway wood is going to work best for, let's say, your handicap range? Well, in today's video, we're going to look at handicap ranges, and I'm going to give you a bit of an idea as to what I think might be the right fairway wood to go in your bag for your standard of golf. I've picked 5 particular fairway woods that we're going to test here today, falling into your category. So let's get into this video and see if there's a club out there that can work better for your game this season. Now, just as a footnote before we get going, the numbers that I'm going to show you here today and the performance that we're seeing from these particular fairway woods is going to be from the deck. So I'm not talking about fairway woods that are teed up. However, what I'm expecting to see slightly different from a teed up fairway wood compared to something that's, let's say, on the ground. That ball's going to generally launch a little bit higher off a tee. It's going to spin just a fraction lower because your strike location is going to be a fraction higher. So the performance is going to be how these go from the ground, which I actually think is really, really important when it comes to testing out fairway woods. And first up, we're going to go in reverse order. The 29 plus handicap golfer. Now these guys or girls are going to be relatively new to the game of golf, or they're going to have played the game for a long time and just kind of lost their way, maybe getting a fraction older, maybe just fractionally slower in their swing speeds, and therefore need something with a little bit more help. This particular fairway wood doesn't necessarily need to be the most powerful, but it needs to be decent in its size. It needs to be able to launch the ball up in the air just a little bit more and get it out there with a little bit of spin, which is going to give us the control, which is why I've picked the TaylorMade Qi10 Max fairway wood. Now, this particular fairway wood is a number 3, but it comes in at 16 degrees of loft. On average, you're going to look at something that's 15 degrees for a normal 3 wood and can go down to probably something like a 13.5 if you want to get it out there with a little bit more power. But I think this Qi10 fairway wood, from a profile point of view, is pretty big when you set it up behind that golf ball. Therefore, plenty of real estate, going to give us lots of confidence that we can kind of spread it across the face a little bit and still get it out to our intended target. Shallow in its profile, so the face of it's quite shallow. Therefore, if you push that weight a little bit lower, it's going to launch that ball up in the air. And remember, we've got 16 degrees of loft in this particular head. Now, for me personally, not the longest fairway wood I've ever hit, carrying on an average of around 214, 215 yards. However, spin-wise, I'm getting this one up at 4,600 revs, which is particularly high, and you'll see it as we work through these fairway woods that I've picked here today. So with all that in mind, I think the Qi10 Max fairway wood in a 16 degree head is going to be perfect for all you 29 plus handicap golfers. The 16 to 28 handicap category. Now, this one is actually still kind of moving into that average golfer now. Anyone that can get below sort of a 28 handicap is moving into a pretty decent range when it comes to the golfer. However, this golfer is playing a little bit more now. We're starting to practice a little bit more. We're starting to improve on our strike, and therefore we want something that's maybe just going to reduce the spin a little bit, still launch nice and high, but get out there maybe a fraction further, but still maintaining a good amount of control. Oh, just a quick one. Sorry to interrupt this video. However, if you are new to the channel and you like what you're seeing from this content, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We've got loads more content out there for you to go and look at. So go into the library and take a look, but make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. Probably the noisiest fairway wood that I've ever actually hit. The Cleveland Launcher XL Halo 3 wood. Now this one comes in at 15 degrees in its loft, so a little bit lower in that loft than what we're getting out of that TaylorMade club there before. However, from a launch point of view, actually very, very similar in its characteristic. I'm probably getting around sort of 14 or 15 degrees of launch out of both these clubs, but the spin just dropping off fractionally, getting around 4,300 revs out of this particular club, and a carry of an average of 218 to 220 yards. So going a little bit further, still maintaining high spin, getting decent launch out of this particular one. So getting control, but going out there fractionally further than what I was getting out of that TaylorMade. But the noise, it's a little bit difficult to kind of shout and scream about the noise, but I do feel that that extra bit of oomph, that extra bit of noise is going to give lots of golfers lots of confidence. From a profile point of view as well, a little bit smaller looking, and it might be just that matte finish compared to what I'm seeing at the TaylorMade, but that little bit smaller profile, again, enabling us to dial in our sort of visuals a little bit more, making sure we focus fractionally more on our strike to get the performance out there and get some consistency. That's why I put this Cleveland in for those 16 to 28 handicap golfers. Now we move in to the 8 to 15 handicap category. Now these are golfers that are playing a little bit more, maybe a couple of times a week, maybe getting a little bit of practice in, but those people that are looking to try and get down to that kind of 5 handicap, what I call like a category 1 handicap golfer. Therefore, if they're practicing more and they're playing more, they can start to dial in their numbers just a little bit more, which is why I've put us into a Ping G430 Fairway Wood. Interestingly, similar in that tonk that I was getting out of that Cleveland now into the Ping, we're also starting to see clubs now that are being able to dial in when it comes to the neck on these clubs. What I'm able to do is unscrew the heads on certainly the next 3, well, this one and the other 2. I'm able to dial in that by unscrewing the heads, moving the shaft around to give me a little bit difference in lie angle and potentially in loft as well. Again, just to be able to dial those numbers in. Now, I'm getting a little bit more out of this club and the spin is dropping off. So I'm getting it down at 3,600 revs on an average. And the average carry now moving up a fraction more to around 125 yards, so getting a little bit more out of it. A profile point of view, again, just a fraction smaller than what I'm seeing out of that Cleveland. Very similar from a face point of view, a little bit shallower, enabling us to launch that ball up in the air, which is why I've put this beautiful looking Ping G430 in there for you 8 to 15 handicappers. The golfer who is looking to get to the elite level, the 2 to 7 handicappers, I've selected the Callaway Ai Smoke Max fairway. Now, this particular one is a beautiful looking head. It's got that little bit of carbon on top. We've even got that little chevron on there, enabling us to be able to sort of line up to the golf ball just that little bit easier. But I'm getting some really good numbers out of this one, and actually they've got a triple diamond version which nearly made it into that really elite area. But looking at the Max, I feel like this club is going to work so well for those golfers that are really looking to push it to that next level. And from my experience, when it comes to pushing it to that next level, these elite golfers don't have a lot of wriggle room. They need to make sure they hit their target more often than not, even though they're also looking for now a little bit more power, get it out there just that little bit further, but they still need the control. And sometimes when I see sort of those 2 handicappers up to sort of 7 handicappers, they can play some great golf. However, they just have 1 or 2 bad holes where they do miss-hit it a little bit and therefore get themselves out of the position and then put in a bit of a higher score. So this Ai Smoke Max Fairway Wood is giving me about 3,300 revs on an average in its spin, and it's getting it out there at around 235 yards, which is actually pretty impressive. If you think, if you're getting out there at 235 yards, your driver's then going to be pushing up to sort of 255 to 260, and this one coming out with a little bit more spin, giving us that control that we need, certainly for those off-centered strikes. And as I mentioned, the look down by the ball is absolutely fantastic with this particular club. And the feel off the face, just a nice dull sound. We've got the weight pushed a little bit further forward here, which is still giving us a little bit lower in spin, but ultimately giving us enough spin to get that control. As I mentioned, that sleeve, we can dial those numbers in, giving us a little bit more loft or taking loft off, making it maybe a bit more draw bias or making it more neutral fade bias. So we've got a few things that we can dial in with this particular club, which is why I've given it to those players that play really good golf, hit the ball great, however have one or two shots that just maybe don't hit their target. This one here, be great off the tee, but also it's going to give you that little bit of control from the fairway. So if you're in that category, certainly go and look at the Callaway Ai Smoke Max Fairway Wood. Next up then, last but not least, you bombers out there. These are sort of the plus handicap golfer, the elite of elite, going up to a 1 handicap golfer. So some of you will call it a scratch golfer. These are people that generally hit the ball quite hard, get it out there really quite well, strike the ball pretty much out the middle, well, most of the time when they're playing, and they try and keep those big numbers off the card because at scratch, you don't have a lot of wriggle room when you're out on the golf course. So we're looking for a fairway wood that's got a little bit lower spin and can get it out there just a little bit further. Now, as I said, that Callaway triple diamond fairway wood could have fallen nicely for those players in that plus range, as could the TaylorMade, as could a Ping option, and as could a Titleist option. Just a number of clubs out there that could really work for so many players. However, the one that I've chosen for today, and I think that a number of you should give it a chance and give it a chance to test and be fitted for it, is the Mizuno ST-G. Now this one is absolutely stunning. Not a lot going on top of this particular club, just that little bit of running bird there that we've got from that Mizuno logo. Weight is pushed way forward. We've got the option to kind of move that loft sleeve around as well here, so we're able to dial those numbers in. Now from a spin point of view, bringing it down again from that Callaway, I'm getting 3,000 on an average RPMs out of this particular fairway wood, and it's getting out there now closer to 240 to 245 yards, which is why I think those plus elite players are going to want to look at possibly putting something like this in the golf bag. And like I said, there's so many clubs on the market for you to go and test. However, I think the Mizuno sometimes, like I said, gets a little bit overlooked, and I think you should certainly consider it next time you're looking to purchase a 3-wood. So good. Now there's going to be a club in this lineup that you don't agree with, and there's going to be clubs out there that you are using yourself and you would rather them be in here than what I've actually picked, and that's fair enough. I don't use some of the clubs that are in this bag here that we've got here today. So therefore, I want to hear down in the comments which of these clubs do you use, and if you don't and you're in that certain category, I want to know which club you do actually use. Now, I don't like pigeonholing categories when it comes to golfers, because you could be a fantastic fairway player, want something that goes out there with a little bit less spin, but you play off a 15 handicap. It's just that your short game isn't to the standard to bring you down. However, there's also players out there that need a little bit more help, and therefore maybe that Cleveland would work better for you, but you're close to a scratch golfer. There's so many different options out there of which I think you should go and test. However, these are my 5 that I've chosen for the categories that we've got here today. Now, if you like what you're seeing from this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, make sure you leave a comment, give the video a thumbs up, and I'll see you again on the next video.